Hello, everybody. It's Branden Scott, and with me, former Wolves captain and current sports agent Michael Cantor.
Dillon comes racing the other way, shoots, scores! Unbelievable! What a goal!
With me, the Sudbury Wolves first-round draft pick, David Goyette. David, congratulations on joining our organization.
Drops it back to Quinton Byfield. Byfield cuts through the neutral zone into the cold zone. Walks up, takes a shot, scored! Quinton Byfield! Quinton Byfield, unbelievable! What a goal! I can't believe it!
Josh Sweetland with the OHL here, joined by Branden Scott, video producer and an occasional play-by-play voice with the Sudbury Wolves as well. Has done a number of games over the past couple of seasons. Branden, you watched the Wolves more than anybody else. You saw pretty much all 68 of their games this year. And, of course, OHL Voice is just an opportunity to talk with the people that cover the teams and hear their perspectives from someone who watches at a very close level. I think the guy that everybody wants to ask about, big number 55, Quinton Byfield, reigning OHL Rookie of the Year from last season, scored 32 goals this year with 50 assists and 82 points, and won a World Junior Gold Medal as part of Team Canada. What's it been like, in your 2 years with the Wolves, being able to watch Quinton right from day one, and where have you seen him develop the most?
First, thank you so much for having me on. And, of course, Quinton Byfield, he's the popular name that we get a lot in Sudbury. And it was amazing to watch this guy up close and personal through the 2 years and seeing how much he has really grown. And physically, he's becoming much more of a man since he joined the league. But just seeing how much he improved his defensive awareness. I know our coaching staff has really pinned down, engraved in his brain that defense comes first. And you saw that with this year, he got trusted more and more on the penalty kill. He was always one of our first back checkers. And just seeing how he figures out new ways to create space on the ice has just been spectacular to watch.
One of the things I kind of wondered, I know that Quinton was out of the lineup with some injuries this year, as well as being away on World Junior duty. Was there a big difference in the way the Wolves played without him in the lineup? I know there was a bit of a lull there in December where the team went into a bit of a slump. Was it noticeable when his presence wasn't out there?
With a guy like Quinton Byfield, it's hard not to notice if he's not there. He brings so much to the table, and he's a guy that every team that comes up and faces us, that's a guy you kind of circle around and you want your top D pairing against. So we really had to rely on a bunch of players to kind of step up to fill his offensive void, just the leadership he brings. And you did notice that when he wasn't there, but I still felt like our team, we kind of got together. That's when you kind of discover who we really are, facing a bit of adversity like that.
As I mentioned off the top, you're a voice on some of the Wolves broadcasts, and you also pretty much cut all their highlight packs, get those to social media, and you guys kind of cover that in a unique way that not a lot of teams in the OHL do, and that you voice over the highlight packs, and it's not something you often see across the league, so I've kind of enjoyed that. But with that, you've pretty much seen every play that has unfolded this season, and I'm curious, do you have a favorite game or a big goal that maybe sticks out to you, or maybe just a moment from the past season? Of course, the Wolves winning their first Central Division title since 2001. There was a lot of fun along the way, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know the second period of when the Saginaw Spirit was in Sudbury, we were slow out of the gate. The Spirit, they end up getting a good lead on us, and then we just stormed back in the second period. I know Mcauley Carson, he scored a beautiful goal that resulted in him jumping in the glass afterwards. That sticks out in my head. Chase Stillman's breakout onto the scene there against North Bay when he did that filthy dangle on that poor defender before bearing his first goal. That was also something that really stuck out in my mind. But I would almost say the past 2 years, the play that really sticks out to me was Game 1 against Mississauga in the first round of last year. I don't believe it was Game 1. I think it was a little later in the series, maybe Game 2. Luukkonen did an amazing paddle stop, and then Quentin Byfield picks up the loose puck, skates the other way, and scores a huge goal, and the crowd was just ballistic. You couldn't talk about like two of our star players both getting it done on both ends of the ice within like 15 seconds. That was crazy.
You mentioned you've been with the Wolves for 2 seasons, and of course a great time to come along because those have been 2 of the most successful seasons in the Wolves' recent franchise history. Of course, last year with that 40-win season, and this year on pace for that same mark, and as I mentioned before, a division title. You mentioned Mcauley Carson, a guy who wrapped up a 5-year OHL career, setting a new franchise games played record. I know he never got a pro deal, and in fact, he's committed to a highly accomplished U Sports program at UNB. What did Mcauley mean to the franchise, and what did he bring to the ice?
That guy was everything. Honestly, you couldn't have asked for a better guy in the community. Like he doesn't matter if it was after a bad game or after a good game. He made sure everybody that wanted to talk to him or get an autograph got that second. Like that's where I feel like he really touched the hearts of many in this city. Just the fact that he spent so much time getting to know people, and he was just a true leader. He's a guy that worked hard to become what he was in that final season. He prided himself on that Sudbury Wolves logo that you could see over my shoulder, and that's what I think what we'll remember about him. He was never that guy that scored an outrageous amount of goals or points and whatnot. He was just a hardworking individual who really loved all the fans here, and the fans love him back. So he's going to be a guy we're going to miss for sure.
You mentioned big-time goal scorers. I think one of the more underrated goal scorers in the OHL right now is Blake Murray. I believe it's 86 goals over 3 seasons, back-to-back 30-goal campaigns. And maybe not a guy you hear about all that often, but a former first-round pick who you'd have to think going into his 19-year-old season next year is one of the bigger scoring threats in the league.
Yeah, Blake Murray's shot is unbelievable. I think it's on par with some of the best in the OHL right now. And he's definitely an underrated guy. Like I know like Quentin Byfield, he kind of brings all the attention towards him. But Blake Murray's another guy who give him the puck and an opportunity in the offensive zone. 9 times out of 10, he's probably going to bury that. And he really just bursted on the scene in his first year, his rookie year with the Wolves. He came flying out of the gate. I'm pretty sure he led the team in points that year, and definitely scored a lot of goals. And hopefully he will score a lot more for us next year. It was great to see him get rewarded getting drafted by the Hurricanes last season.
We mentioned the Central Division title, and obviously the Wolves put a contender on the ice this season, but I'm curious, as a guy who's watched a lot with big names like Carson and Levin and even Brad Chenier, who came in at the trade deadline. With those guys moving on, do you remain optimistic that the Wolves are going to be in a position to be competitive again next season?
Yeah, our division is going to be tough. There's a lot of good teams. Like the Colts, they always turn some heads. Mississauga's got a good program going on there. North Bay, they're also they're improving, right? So it's gonna be tough to go back to back with the banners. But I still have a lot of faith in our team. Like we have most of our D-core coming back in Jack Thompson, Isaac Phillips, Liam Ross. The list goes on and on. And despite like some big shoes that they're gonna have to fill, but we're gonna see some surprises this year. I wouldn't count out a guy like Chase Stillman or Landon Mccallum.
I think one of the unique things approaching the 2020-21 season, whenever that gets underway in the OHL, just some of the work that Rob Papineau's done to bring in Frederick Ditchow in the crease, a 6'5" Danish goaltender who's a draft pick of the Montreal Canadiens. And of course, if it doesn't take a really long memory to remember the impact of Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, of course, OHL goaltender of the year and Red Tilson Trophy recipient, who really made all the difference for the Wolves last season. Probably some excitement in Sudbury to see what this new goaltender can bring. I know there was a little bit of inconsistency just on the defensive side of the puck for the Wolves this year, but maybe a fresh looking goal and an exciting new big name sort of gives a fresh start for the team.
Yeah, it's really hard to try to, keep your expectations down. Just knowing what Ukko-Pekka did, like, yeah, that guy was a rock star in that. And he's a guy I don't think we could ever replace. But, I have a lot of faith in Freddie Deschamps. From talking to, like, some of the goaltending and video coach for the Marlborough Redhawks, he talked very highly of this guy. So I'm intrigued to see what he could bring to Sudbury. So I'm just excited to see when he steps on the ice, and hopefully he could bring some more wins for us.
Well, and of course, a good comparison for those fans who follow the CHL from coast to coast. Mads Sogard, a goaltender for the Medicine Hat Tigers, was drafted in the second round by the Ottawa Senators, and he really proved to be a big boost for that franchise. I know he played in the CHL Top Prospects game, so some really good goaltending talent coming out of Denmark. So be interested to see what Freddie brings to the Sudbury Crease next year, and just kind of keeping our focus on next year. Some other veterans that may stick around as overage options, and I know Rob Papineau and head coach Corey Stillman will kind of have some decisions to make around guys like Owen Robinson and Owen Gilhula, Adam Samuelson, Nolan Hutchison, and I believe Emmett Sorensitz is another 2000-born player that could make a very good overager. So good to know that heading into a new season, there's going to be a pool of veterans there to choose from.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be some tough competition come training camp. I'm actually very eager to see how it unfolds. But, Corey Stillman and Rob Papineau, they know what they're doing more than I could. So I have faith in who will make the cut. All those guys, like, I can't talk. They're so good people off the ice that it's going to be something that we keeping an eye on come training camp next year.
Of course, I think the biggest wild card really is Quinton Byfield, based off what happens when the NHL draft happens, who steps up to select him. You're getting a total package, 6'4", 215-pound centerman. So there's really no knowing where Quinton's going to play next season. But if he's back in Sudbury, he's really hard to argue with him not being the most dynamic centerman in the OHL. So that can really change things in a hurry depending on where Quinton lands. But apart from him, is there anyone that maybe you're eager to see back on the ice after an off season of training and strengthening, and maybe just to see, is there a name that you think could really step up and make a big impact next year?
I know I mentioned them earlier in this Zoom call here, but the two rookies, Chase Dillon and Landon Mccallum, I'm very curious to see how they improve, especially Mccallum. I feel like he kind of flew under the radar this past season because, he didn't jump off the page with points and whatnot. But he's a guy that you saw him slowly over the season get more and more comfortable playing against the bigger and stronger OHL level talent. And just seeing how he gets stronger, I feel could really do some wonders for his game. And Chase Stillman, you already saw the flair he brings skill-wise. So just another year of experience under his belt. Just see where he'll do or how he'll do, especially coming into next season.
Well, for the first time in a while, the Sudbury Wolves will start a fresh season at the top of the mountain as Central Division champions. Branden Scott, thanks for joining me for a little bit of hockey talk today on OHL Voices, and I really hope you're enjoying the nice weather and getting outside throughout this extended off season.
Yeah, thank you again for having me, Josh, and don't worry, I'll save you a spot at the Moonlight Beach next time you're in town.
Thanks, Branden. We'll talk to you later.